All right, let's review case study 1 from week 1. Question 1, what are the 2014 ADP and 2014 top-heavy results? And what are the remedies if applicable? So let's go to the 2014 ADP test first. Step 1, as we discussed in class, is identify the eligible participants. Immediate eligibility, immediate entry. So all 3 are eligible and in. So let's identify the HCEs, the highly compensated employees. The first thing we look at, are there any greater than 5% owners? And again, I stress this is on the final, it's greater than 5%. If you're a 5% owner, you're not an HCE. If you're greater than 5%, you're an HCE. So in this case, there are none. So the second thing we look at is the compensation portion of the HCE test. Did anybody earn greater than $115,000 in 2013? And that's off your limitations chart, which we put in the week 1 guide. So did anyone earn over $115,000 in 2013? That'd be a yes. So now we have our first HCE. So let's review. We're doing a 2014 ADP test, but when we're doing the compensation portion, we're looking at the 2013 comp, not 2014. Common error. So now that we have the HCEs and the NHCEs, the non-highly compensated employees, we can calculate the 2014 ADRs for both the HCEs and NHCEs. So let's put that down here. That'll be B and C. And this is a pretty simple calculation. We're going to take the deferrals in 2014 and divide it by the compensation. Remember to look at the compensation limits, because if they're making $500,000, the denominator is not $500,000. It's the maximum limitation for that year, compensation. All right, so let's take 10,000. Divided by 200,000. And then B and C, I see 0 and 0. So it really doesn't matter what their comp is because they're going to be 0. So if we run this thing out, the HCE ADR is 5%. NHCE is 0%. Now these are the 2014 the 2014 ADR calculations. So in this case, if we look at the methodology, the ADP methodology, we have prior. So in the 2014 ADP test, we're not looking at this information here. Doesn't matter. Comes into play for next year, 2015. So in the first year, in the first year of the plan, on a 2014 test, we don't look at 2013, there's nothing there. So we have a choice. We can go with this result, or we can use 3%. So in this case, obviously, since 3% is higher, that's the result we're going to use. So we're going to compare 3%, that's the NHCE rate, to the HCE rate of 5%. Now, if you look at your chart on the answer key, and also in our sessions, our video sessions, to determine the maximum HCE ADP they can contribute in a given year, you take the 3% plus 2%, and now you have your maximum. So pretty simple in this case. Since we're using the prior year analysis, HCEs are 5%, the maximum that they can contribute is 5%, we have a passing test. So let's move on to the top heavy. The top heavy is always calculated in the last day of the plan year based on account balances. The difference here, though, is we're comparing key employees to non-key employees. So first thing we have to do is similar to the ADP test, we have to determine who's a key employee and who's not. So let's take a look at that. To identify the key employees, the first thing we look at, are there any greater than 5% owners? Again, notice I said greater than 5%. There are none. Now, are there any officers earning over $170,000 on the termination date? That is also none. And are there any 1% owners earning over $150,000 on the determination date? And you can look at both years when I discuss that. It's still none. So we have 0 key employees. So if we're doing the actual calculation, it would be key employee, their total, which is 0, and then the non-key, which is 12,000. All I'm doing is taking numerator, denominator, and we're home free, we're at 0%. Remember, top heavy, if we had key employees and they were greater than 60%, again, keyword greater, not at 60, then the plan would be top heavy. So in the first year of the plan for a top heavy test, we always look at December 31st, 2014. That is also the key date for the 2015 test. So first year counts for 2. Every year going forward, you just take the last day of the plan year, and that's whether they're top heavy for the next year. So you always know if you're top heavy for the next year, where the ADP test is a look back. So in this case, we're good to go from a top heavy perspective. So let's take a peek at, since this is prior year testing, we now are able to look ahead to 2015 for our ADP result, ADP ACP results. So take a look at here, we have NHCEs. Their deferrals at 0%. So if we look at 2015, if the HCE walks into the office and talks to their HR person, again, it's only 3 people here, but assume there's a bunch of them, what's the most I can defer? Well, if you look at the chart, 0% times anything is 0%. They're in trouble here. So unless this person, this HCE, is over age 50, they're going to be able to defer nothing. If they're over age 50, they'll be able to put in the catch-up provision, and that is it. All right, a couple other items here. Does permissive disaggregation help in this case for 2014? Well, that's pretty easy because it's a no. It's 0% all day long. We could permissively disaggregate right here because the earliest they get in is 1 year, 1,000-hour semi-annual entry, which is January 1, July 1st. Earliest they're going to get in is 7/1/2015, but it just doesn't matter in this result. So the last question we always look at in my business, did the consultant make an error in the plan design? Well, obviously they did in year 2 because the HCE cannot defer anything. So they probably should have gone with a safe harbor solution.